And I am going to talk to you today about the invention of coinage in India and what was their contribution to our history. First, I am going to tell that what are coins. Coin is a piece of metal issued by an authority as money. They have fixed weight and value, and religious tokens and Nazrana coins are not legal tender. You see this image of a Ramatanka, and these are also made coin size and they are very popular with people, but they are not coins. And similarly, another one you see them, Krishna and Radha, looks like a coin, but it is not a coin. So we were to ask ourselves that when were the coins invented in our country? Who invented the coinage? What were the needs for invention of coinage? And what were the contribution of coins to our Indian history? The coins originated in 3 countries in the world. Lydia, India and China are the 3 countries which invented coinage as we know today in the 6th, 7th century BC. And they invented this independently of each other. And how this coinage evolved and so on. You all know that barter system existed from the Vedic period, and cattle were used mostly for the medium of exchange in those days. And there was a reference to Vishnu portrait which was worth 100 cows. So next, after that barter system, metals of fixed weights were used, and Dikshit found those during excavations at Taxila in 1926. And another country, Mesopotamia, also used silver pieces of his fixed weight for exchange of goods. And in India, who were the ones who started issuing coins for the first time? It was the Janapadas. Janapadas are small kingdoms. They were there more than about 100 in our country, just like Magadha, Kasi, Kosala, Asmaka, Kalinga, Anga, like that. So it was the Janapadas who started issuing coins, and first Magadha issued coins as a Janapada. Later it became strong, and then it defeated the adjacent Janapadas to become an imperial power, and they issued imperial type of coins and so on. So Magadha issued the first national currency in our country, and then they were they were made of silver, and they had a fixed weight of 3.4 grams, and they were in circulation all over the territory which Magadha ruled and so on. So slowly you could imagine that barter system which started from the Vedic period has given way to coinage. And then of course advantages of the coinage are that metals are durable, portable and homogeneous and easily divisible. That's why coinage evolved from the barter system. So in India, first series of coins which were made were called punchmark coins. Why they were called as punchmark coins is that they were made of silver and symbols were imprinted on those coins, and there were punches of the symbols on the metal, and that's why they were called punchmark coins, because none of them had a name of the king who issued them, or the dynasty to which he belonged. Then came the uninscribed cast coins and so on. Making punchmark coins was difficult because it took time. And then came the cast coins. In a cast, they will pour the metal and so on. The coin would come out and so on. And first time the kings who put their name on the coins happened around the 2nd to the 3rd century BC. And in our part, Kotlingala, we had king called Gobada, who probably was the first king in India who put his name on the coin, because earlier coins which were in circulation for many centuries did not have name of the king, neither the name of the dynasty to which he belonged. And you could see that in that there were 16 Mahajanapadas according to our ancient text, and then Asmaka was the Janapada, which was one of the Mahajanapada south of Vindhyas. And then this is a Asmaka Janapada coin which had got 4 symbols, and the elephant was the main symbol and train railing was the other symbol which was there. You could see that and so on. And you might wonder that where you get those coins and so on, ancient coins. They come to us in treasure troves. Somebody, put them in a treasure, lock them up, and then they get opened up subsequently while digging. And of course, excavations are planned diggings, and then you find those coins and so on. And another tradition was there for us, that in riverbeds, whenever we pass through a Godavari, Krishna and so on, we throw coins into that. And riverbeds have been a source of coins, ancient coins and so on. And one of the interesting thing was that the temple collections and so on. And then Tirupati had more than 40 tons of coins and so on, because each one of the, when we visit, we put coins, and this tradition was going on for centuries and so on. So they had large number of these coins in their collection. They were consisted of gold coins, silver coins, and coins of copper. And then you might ask that what was the contribution of these coins to our history and so on. You all know that Brahmi and Kharosthi was our ancient script, and Ashoka made these inscriptions in Brahmi script and then Prakrit language. And none of us knew how to read, decipher Brahmi and Kharosthi. Kharosthi was prevalent in the northwestern part of India, but rest of India, it was the Brahmi which was there. So in that Brahmi language, the inscriptions were made and so on. And it was James Prinsep in 1830, based on the Indo-Greek study of Indo-Greek coins, he deciphered the Brahmi script and so on. And you would look at the Egyptian history, again it was not understood till about 200 years back, and it was the French scholars studying the Rosetta Stone inscription, they were able to decipher the Egyptian and Greek script and so on. So this was the huge rock pillar was there near Delhi, and language written inscription was there, but nobody in India could read that and so on, because it was written in Brahmi, and Brahmi was not deciphered till 1830s. And this is the beginning of the inscription of Ashoka. He calls himself as Devanam Priya Priyadasini and so on. And so how it happened and so on, how the Indo-Greek coins helped us decipher the Brahmi, our ancient script. And so Alexander came, you all know that, and then on the way back he died. But not many know that 38 Greek kings ruled northwestern India for next 130 years. And what they did was, they issued coins with the name of the king in Greek on one side, obverse side, and the reverse side, luckily for us, they issued the coins with the name in Brahmi or in Kharosthi. So what these coins had was, this is the a Indo-Greek coin. The top you could see that it says Basileus. Basileus only means that is a king, like Raja or Maharaja. And down you could see that below the lion, that name of the king, Agathocles. So on the reverse side, you would have, instead of Basileus, you would have Regino, and then the name of the king. Name of the king cannot change, and so on. So that in this coin, you could make out A, Gha, Tha, Kha, La, Ya, and so on. And this is how the Brahmi script was deciphered. And this is the coin of a Menander, and the Greek inscription on the obverse side, and the reverse side was in Kharosti script. Kharosti, again, it says Maharajasa and Menander. And then you had 38 odd Indo-Greek kings who ruled us. So their names were Apollodotus, Archibius, Dionysius, Pantaleon, Demetrius, Plato, Strato, and so on. And from their names, of their coins and so on, we could make out all the letters of the Brahmi script and so on. This is how the Brahmi script was deciphered, and this is how these Indo-Greek coins were made. There is a portrait of the king, and then Basileus is there, the title of the king is there, then the name is there. Sometimes king may have more than one title, so that they were, you could read them, because Greek they could read, and then on the reverse side would be, so that once Brahmi script was deciphered, then all those rock inscriptions of Ashoka which were there around the country, and this is a Ashokan rock edict which is there on the borders of Kurnool and Anantapur and so on. And then you could see that what the message Ashoka wanted to give to our people in the, and then surprisingly what Ashoka did was, he never put his name on the even inscriptions and so on. He just called himself as Devanampriya. But Maski is in Raichur district, and this had the name of Ashoka and so on. So then we come to know that all those rock edicts which were there around the country, calling himself as Devanampriya, were the issues of Ashoka, and then his message came into. So once the Brahmi was deciphered, and so much of our ancient history came to us and so on. 80% of Indian history prior to 1000 AD came from the study of the inscriptions which were there on stones, pillars, caves, and copper plates. And then whole lot of our ancient history came to us after the decipherment of the Brahmi script and so on. Known was the decipherment of the Brahmi script. That was a great contribution to our history and so on. And second contribution of the coins was that so many kings who issued coins around the country, but we didn't know anything about them and so on. Like for instance, Kotlingala on the banks of river Godavari in Karimnagar district had the names, coins of the kings with the name Gobada, Narana, Kamvayasa, Sirivayasa, and Samagopa. And we know nothing about them in literary works of that ancient times and so on. So we have come to know that even before the Satavahanas, Gobada, Narana, Kamvayasa, Sirivayasa, and Samagopa ruled Telangana. So we have, like that in the other parts of the country too, we have come to know about the kings about whom we didn't know at all. And this is the coin of Gobada. Gobada was probably the first one who put his name on the coin in India, because earlier 400-500 years coins were there punch-marked, but they had no name of the king or the dynasty to which he belonged. Similarly, if you look at the medieval period and so on, and during Delhi Sultan's period, there were people like Ildis and Kubacha. They were big army men, but we didn't know about their first name and so on. From the coin we come to know that Kubacha was not just an official but or Senapati, but he was also had the authority to issue coins and so on. And his first name was Nasiruddin. And there is another Ildis, from the coins we come to know Tajuddin. So first names of the kings also we have come to know from the coins and so on. And also, we all know about Ramayana, Mahabharata, and then Puranas and so on. And Puranas tell us about the Satavahana kings who ruled it, and then subsequent dynasties too. So sometimes we wonder that, are they true kings? Did they really rule us? So when we find coins of Satakarni, who was mentioned in Puranas, then we find his coins of Gautami Putra, Yajna Satakarni, Vasishti Putra, Skanda Satakarni, and so on. So this coins discovery corroborated the information which we got from the Puranas. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known that whether these kings really existed. And then these are the coins of Pudumavi on the right side and Satakarni on the left side. So once we find coins, we know that they were the kings who were mentioned in the Puranas, did rule us. And this is the coin of the Yajna Satakarni. And he issued a ship type of a coin and so on. He was probably one of the first one in the world who put his ship design on the coins when there was a good, wonderful trade, maritime trade with Rome and other Western countries with India and so on. So information, coins was more accurate than from the Puranas. Puranas were written many centuries after the actual events have taken place and so on. So first king of the Satavahana dynasty's name you see in Puranas like Matsya, Vayu, Vishnu, Brahmanda, Bhagavata, name is given differently and so on. But you find coin which says you he is Chimuka Satavahana. That must be the correct name of the king. The inscription, Nanaghat inscription, which was made about 70-80 years after that Chimuka ruled, it was nearer the truth. He called himself Simuka, but actual name was Chimuka Satavahana. And this is the one coin and so on. You look at it, what it says, that legend, Rano Chimuka Siri Satavahana. So his correct name of the king we have come to know. And we also have come to know that the language was Prakrit, because Rano is a Prakrit word, Rajno is a Sanskrit word. And then Siri says it is Shri. Shri is in Sanskrit. So that the language was Prakrit and Lipi was Brahmi. So this was how the Satavahana coins were issued, and we have come to know so many things about those ancient kings and so. And sometimes, these Islamic coins, they have big legend about the king himself and so on. And from that we could infer that what kind of a character of the king is there and so on. If you look at the Alauddin Khalji coins, he calls himself as a second Alexander. And Qutbuddin Khalji, he calls himself as a supreme head of Islam and Lord of heaven and earth and so on. So that legend tells us about the character of the king who issued such coins and so on. But of all, most intriguing thing was that Muhammad bin Tughlaq, all of us know about Tughlaq, and who killed his father to become the king, and he issues a coin calling him a martyr. Just imagine that, what kind of a character he was. He kills his father and issues coins in his memory, and he calls him a martyr. So that from the coins we have come to know about the character of the king who issued them and so on. This was the coin of the Alauddin Khilji. And then coins also tell us about the trade in ancient times and so on. We found large number of these Panchmat coins in Telangana. Biggest hoard of Panchmat coins was found in Karimnagar in 1920. And then when it was analyzed by Parameshwar Lal Gupta, we found coins which were in circulation in the northern part of India. So it means that in those ancient times too, there was a brisk trade between north and the south in our country and so on. And many places like Akanapal, Nustalapur, then we found Roman coins in our country. There were 60 hoards of Roman coins were found in South India. So why did the Romans come to us? They came to buy steel which was being made in South India. And later, first they were going to Tamil Nadu, but later they were coming to Telangana. Why were they coming to Telangana? Because Telangana was making the best steel, and that's why they were coming to Telangana to buy steel. And then in return, of course, they were taking other goods too, spices and so on. So this is a coin, punchmark coin, and then next you see them Roman coin and so on, which is slashed. And so quite a few places in South India we found these Roman coins, and that tells us that we had a good trade with Rome in those days and so on. And this coin, what you see is that it was the Nahapana coin which was countermarked by Gautamiputra Satakarni. So what he did was, when he defeated Gautamiputra Satakarni defeated Nahapana, Western Kshatrap king, what he did was he took the coins, big hoard of Jogaltambi coins were there, more than 17,000 and so on. So he countermarked with his name and so on. So ancient kings, what they would do is, if they succeeded somebody, they would countermark the coins of the king whom he defeated. And here you could see that the ship type of a coin issued by the Ajna Satakarni. And this shows that we had a wonderful trade, maritime trade in those days with the Western countries and so on, Middle East and then Western, Rome and Greece and other places and so on. And it was also something interesting was that this was a ship, we had a 2 masts and so on. And this was the type of a ships which were in, they were participating in the maritime trade and so on. And I was just looking at the 2-mast ships in the Western countries. They have not made a 2-mast ship till about 1000 AD. So it means that in our ancient time, 1000 years back, we were making 2-mast ships which were traveling the seas and so on. And also, when it comes to Roman ship type of coins were also issued by the Romans and Phoenicians. But if you look at them, the Ajna Satakarni and then Vasishthaputra Satakarni issued ship type of coins even before the Romans and the Phoenicians. And then, of course, I was telling you about the Gautamiputra Satakarni coin. I showed you that Gautamiputra Satakarni countermarked the coin of Nahapana. And this is another coin of, on the left hand side, you see that 3-arched hill with a crescent. This is an Ashokan coin. Ashoka symbol was the 3-arched hill with a crescent on top. And you could see that after the Ashoka, other Mauryan kings ruled us, but there was a gap. And then between the fall of the Mauryan Empire to the rise of Satavahanas, there was a gap of over 200 years and so on. And Satavahanas had the elephant symbol on their coins. Every one of the Satavahana coin which was found at Kotlingala and then at Peddabankur had the elephant symbol alone and so on. You could see that Ashokan coin was countermarked by the elephant symbol of the Satavahanas. So it means that after the Mauryan Empire fall, then next big dynasty which ruled us was the Satavahanas. And then another coin, again similarly it shows you this is a punchmark coin of the Mauryan period and which was countermarked by the elephant symbol of the Satavahanas. And then this is one more coin. And then you wonder that Chimukha Satavahana was the founder and the first king of the Satavahana dynasty and so on. Whom did he succeed? This coin belongs to Samagopa. You could see clearly the name of Rano Samagopa. This was countermarked with the Ujjain symbol of the Satavahanas. So it means that Samagopa was succeeded by the Satavahanas. And this is another kind of Samagopa, which was again countermarked. But you see the another coin who put his name Satavahana on the coin of Samagopa. So that now Purana tells us exactly that whom did Chimukha Satavahana succeed. Coins proved that Samagopa was succeeded by the Chimukha Satavahana. And it was interesting that for the coins which were found in Karnataka, that Samagopa was an official before he became a king. He was a Maharathi. So there were coins which were found in Karnataka excavations that he was a Maharathi Chimukha Satavahana. And later he becomes the king. He calls himself as a Rano and so on. So this is the historical documentation that Satavahana was Chimukha was the king, and then who was the first king of the Satavahana dynasty. He succeeded Samagopa, and then correct name was Chimukha Satavahana. And also coins reveal that economic conditions of those times. You know, these Delhi sultans, Alauddin, Qutbuddin Khalji, they came down south and then looted, and they had an enormous amount of gold and silver, and they issued coins made of gold and silver. You could see the find of large number of gold and silver coins. We know that the king was a very prosperous and so on. And another thing we know about from the coins is that the art of those times and so on. And we could see that how they drawn the elephant and how they drawn the lion, how they drawn the horse and so on, and also the other symbols which they made on the coins. And Kalasha is there, and then Shivling was there. So all those images, how they were making 6th, 7th centuries, 6th, 7th century BC sometimes, you were surprised and so on. And here you see the coin from Singavaram Horde and so on. The coin hardly measured about 1.5 centimeters. So it had 4 symbols. And one symbol which always appealed to me was that it had Nagali and then Rendu, 2 bulls carrying the plow and so on. And when I come to know that this Singavaram Horde belonged to 7th, 8th century, it means that planned agricultural thing started way back at that time and so on. And you could see the other symbols and so on. There were large number of symbols in the ancient coins and so on. How they depicted a star and other things and so on. We could see that. And then these are all the symbols which you could see in the 2,700-800-year-old coins, which we could date them and so on, because that Janapada was ruling at that time and so on. And then, of course, coins, then we do chemical analysis. We come to know that what was the ore for making those coins and so on. They were made lead. Where was the lead was coming from? They were copper coins over there. What were the sources of copper and so on? Similarly, silver was there, and then gold coins, of course, came late during the AD period. So chemical analysis also helped us that, and also we come to know about the religious leaning of the kings and so on. And Kushans patronized Buddhism, and early kings of Vijayanagara were Shaivites. They had a tendency for Shaivism, but later they became very strong Vaishnavites. And you could see that coin of Aravidu dynasty, Venkatapati Raju, with a Namam symbol and so on. We could see that they were strong Vaishnavites, and then have that symbol on their coins. And